The bell above the cafe door rang. I didn't look up right away. Customers walked in all the time. But something about the silence that followed made me pause. So I looked up. And my heart stopped. Because standing in the doorway was a man I hadn't seen in 12 years. A man I once promised to spend the rest of my life with. My husband. The man who disappeared 12 years ago. For a second my heart forgot how to beat. Because after all this time, after all the questions, after all the nights I spent wondering where he went, there he was, standing 10 feet away from me, looking exactly like the memory I had spent years trying to bury. And when his eyes finally met mine, I did the only thing I could think of. I pretended we were strangers. The cafe was quiet that afternoon. Just the soft hum of the espresso machine and the low murmur of two college students arguing about something over textbooks. I was wiping down the counter when the door opened. The bell above it rang. And everything inside me froze. He stepped in slowly. Like a man who wasn't sure he belonged there. His hair was shorter now. A few strands of gray near his temples. His shoulders slightly heavier than I remembered. But it was him. Adrian. The man I had once promised to spend my entire life with. The man who vanished 12 years ago without a single explanation. He walked up to the counter. Close enough that I could see the familiar scar on his chin. The one he got the summer we built our first apartment bookshelf together. He looked straight at me. His eyes searching my face. Recognition flickered across them. "Hi," he said carefully. My throat tightened. But I forced my voice to stay calm. "Can I help you?" For a moment he didn't speak. Just studied me. Like he couldn't quite believe what he was hearing. Then he nodded slowly. "Coffee," he said. "Black." The same order he had every morning for 7 years. I poured it without saying another word. My hands were steady. But inside me, a storm had already started. There was a time when Adrian knew everything about me. How I took my coffee. How I hummed when I cooked. How I pretended not to cry during sad movies. We were young when we met. 22. Full of plans and reckless certainty. We got married 2 years later. Not because life was perfect. But because we couldn't imagine life without each other. Our apartment was small. The couch was secondhand. The kitchen sink leaked every other week. But it felt like the beginning of something beautiful. And then one morning, I woke up alone. His side of the bed was empty. His closet half cleared. His phone disconnected. The only thing he left behind was a note. 4 words written on the kitchen table. "I'm sorry. I can't stay." No explanation. No goodbye. Just silence. At first, I thought something terrible had happened. I called every hospital in the city. Every police station. I even drove 3 hours to his brother's apartment in the middle of the night. No one knew where he was. Or if they did, they wouldn't tell me. For months I kept searching. I checked old friends. Workplaces. Airports. Anywhere a person might disappear to. But eventually, every lead ran out. And the hardest truth settled in. The man I loved hadn't been taken from me. He had chosen to leave. Or at least, that's what I believed for 12 long years. Adrian sat down at the small table near the window, holding his coffee like it might anchor him. I tried to stay busy. Cleaning. Organizing. Anything to keep me from looking at him. But I could feel his eyes on me. Finally he spoke again. "You really don't remember me?" I kept my back turned. Should I? The silence that followed felt heavy. Then his chair scraped softly against the floor. He stood. Walked back to the counter. Closer this time. "Elena," he said quietly. Hearing my name after 12 years felt like someone opening a locked door inside my chest. But I didn't let my face change. I think you have me confused with someone else. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. You know that's not true. I looked up then. Right into his eyes. The same eyes I once trusted with my entire future. And for the first time in 12 years. The anger finally surfaced. You disappeared, I said. You don't get to walk back in here like nothing happened. He didn't defend himself. Didn't argue. He just looked tired. Like the weight of 12 years had finally caught up with him. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you, he said quietly. That sentence alone made my chest tighten. Then why? He hesitated. Like the answer still hurt to say out loud. My brother owed money, he said finally. Dangerous people. I frowned. What does that have to do with you disappearing? Because they came to me first. The cafe suddenly felt too small. I paid what I could, he continued. But they wanted more. And they knew about you. My stomach dropped. They said if I didn't help them move some shipments across the border. He stopped. Struggling with the memory. They would come looking for you. The room went completely quiet. So you left, I said slowly. He nodded. I thought if I disappeared, they would stop looking. I left because staying would have put you in danger. The anger inside me started to unravel. Piece by painful piece. I spent 12 years thinking you abandoned me, I whispered. I know, he said. And I'm sorry for every one of those days. We sat there for a long time after that. Two people separated by 12 years of silence. Neither of us quite sure what to do next. Finally he stood up. I didn't come here expecting forgiveness, he said. I just needed you to know the truth. He placed a few dollars on the counter. Then turned toward the door. But before he could leave, I said something I didn't plan. Adrian. He stopped. Slowly turned around. I studied his face again. Older. Worn down by time. But still familiar in a way that made my heart ache. I never stopped wondering where you went, I said. He nodded. I never stopped wondering if you were okay. For a moment neither of us moved. Adrian glanced toward the door. Then he asked something that made my chest tighten. Is she here today? I frowned. Who? He hesitated. Then said a name I hadn't heard from him in 12 years. Sophia. Our daughter. He hadn't seen her since she was 3. She comes here after school sometimes, I said carefully. He nodded. Like that was the answer he had been hoping for. An hour later the cafe door opened again. The bell rang softly. And Sophia walked in. Backpack slung over one shoulder. Her hair slightly messy from the wind. She stopped when she saw Adrian. Studied him the way children study strangers. Then she looked at me. Mom. Why is that man looking at me like he knows me? My chest tightened. Adrian didn't move. Didn't speak. Finally Sophia frowned slightly. Then said something that made the room go completely silent. Mom. Is he the man from the pictures in the hallway? The old family photos. The ones I never had the heart to throw away. I nodded slowly. Yes, I said. That's him. Sophia looked back at Adrian. For a long moment she didn't say anything. Then she walked closer. You've been gone a long time, she said simply. Adrian nodded. Yes, he said quietly. I have. She thought about that for a second. Then she said something neither of us expected. Well. We still have room at the table. For a moment none of us moved. Then Sophia hugged her dad tightly. Just like that. Like 12 years hadn't happened. Adrian looked at me. Unsure. Like a man asking a question he wasn't brave enough to say out loud. Sophia stepped away, leaving both of us at the table. For a moment, neither of us moved. I reached for the coffee pot, refilled his cup, and set it back down in front of him. "You might as well sit," I said quietly. "We have 12 years to talk about." For the first time since he walked into that cafe, Adrian smiled. Not the confident smile I remembered from our 20s. But something softer. Something uncertain. He sat down slowly. Like a man who wasn't sure if he deserved the chair. He took a small sip of the coffee. Black. The same way he always drank it. Outside, the afternoon sun slipped through the cafe windows. And for the first time in 12 years, we were sitting at the same table again. Two people who once knew everything about each other, and now had to decide if 12 years of silence was something love could survive. So I looked at him and asked the one question I had waited 12 years to say. Where do we start? And maybe, just maybe, something like the beginning of a second chance. If this story touched you even a little, tell me in the comments. Would you have forgiven him? Would you have given him another chance after 12 years? And if you enjoy emotional storytelling about love, second chances, and family, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Disclaimer. This story is fictional and created for entertainment purposes with the help of AI. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. Please make thoughtful decisions in your own life. This story is not professional advice.